Hey guys, and welcome to this week's New Wave Real Estate Group meeting. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from Mr. Deon Steckling, who happens to be the father of the illustrious Paige Steckling. We're grateful to have him on. He gives us some huge insights into finding our personal reasons, our personal mantras, into why we do what we do, making sure we understand what that is, and how to implement that into our lives. It's a fantastic session on not only creating your business, but creating the life that you want. He also goes in and shares some really incredible personal experiences and the need and requirement to have people around you to not only encourage you, but help you through those hard times. Mr. Deon, thank you so very much for joining us today. And Miss Paige, thank you so much for inviting him to be with us. Enjoy the rest of this, guys.
Somebody super awesome. And I feel so lucky because I'm surrounded by people who have helped me so much, given me so much great advice, and people who have done a lot of cool things, who have been super successful. And a lot of people ask me like how I do things. I'm kind of like, gosh, I don't really know. Like I try to help and give as much help as I can, and really like think about the systems that I follow and what I've done to get where I am. But a lot of it is just being surrounded by people who have achieved a lot of great things, who I feel like have had a big influence on me, who I've taken like little bits from and just advice from them on what they've done. So I have a lot of great people around me, and I'm so grateful for everybody who's here. I freaking love all of you so much. I've said this to a lot of you guys, but I feel like the cool thing about this brokerage is energy attracts like energy. So you kind of attract people that are similar to you. So I just fucking love everybody here, and I've loved talking to everybody. I love working and collaborating with all of you, and I'm so grateful you're all here. So I really want to share with you as much as I possibly can of what I've done, what's helped me, what's worked for me. And one of the people who has had a huge influence on my life and who's been so helpful to me is my father-in-law, Deon, who is on the call now. I finally got him to join this call. You guys, he is a master. So he he was like a personal development facilitator for I think like 10 years. He can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll bring him on in a minute. But so he basically was just helped people in their own life with personal development, with mindset, get to where they want to be. But then not only did he talk the talk, he walked the walk. He co-founded this company, is the largest credit repair company in the world, had a huge exit from it. He owns a really large real estate portfolio. One of the smartest guys I know, super interesting, like just the way he thinks about things and about life. He's a sales wizard. So I wanted to bring him on and kind of share some and just kind of share some of what he has to offer. Some of the things that he's told me, I want to give to all of you guys, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. So Deon, if you're on, if you can unmute yourself. I don't know if I'm trying to find you on here. If you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
How's it going? It's let's see, it's a little bit it cut out the last part of what you said. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
Okay, there
Is
you are.
my
Yeah, you're
Yeah, and
good.
I'm
That's
and I'm
better.
on a Wi-Fi, so hopefully it works.
Yeah, no, that's
But yeah,
perfect.
just living the dream. I'm actually in Bountiful, Utah, playing pickleball, and stepped off the court for this conversation. So
You guys, he was like, oh, I've been asking him to do this call. I'm like, you have so much to offer. You've told me so many little like helpful tips and helped me a ton in my business, just like the way that you do sales, the way that you've talked about mindset, how you do life, how you think about life, how you got to where you are. And anyways, he's like, oh, I have something. I'm playing pickleball. And then he texts me back. He's like, you know what? I'll do it. So thank you so much for stepping away from pickleball. I really appreciate it. And
well, thank you.
yeah, would love
Thank
to
you.
just kind of.
You said it was a casual environment. So yeah, so how can I serve? How can I serve this team, Paige?
I would love you to tell them some of the things that you've shared with me that I've really taken to heart, that I've like turned around and like utilized in my business in regards to sales, in regards to mindset, like how, if you can share a little bit about kind of what your philosophy was when you were doing personal development, how you turned that into your own business and co-founding this business that was a huge success that you ended up selling, and now you're in a great place in life. So I'd love for you to share with them kind of some of your philosophies, what has worked for you, maybe a little bit of your background if you want, but some of your biggest things that you taught in personal development, and then kind of how you applied that to your business. And obviously it worked. Usually they say those who can't do teach. In your case, it was the opposite. Like, you taught and then you actually went and did it, and now you're set for life, so.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. All the things that you've said, I really appreciate, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a couple of things. I think the hardest part of this process for me was when you said, "Hey, can you send me just a high level bio?" I don't know that you and I've ever really talked about these little steps of what I've done in the past. I don't typically talk about myself that much. And so this is a little bit of a risk for me to share some of this. So I do want to create an agreement real quick, and that is that anything that I share about myself, my life, the successes that I've been blessed with, the agreement is this: I just want you to couch it in the reality that I did not do any of this alone. It is absolutely impossible to be successful in life and in this world alone. And so I just want to acknowledge, just generally, all of the people in my life who played such critical roles in assisting me and empowering me and being there for me, at the times when I needed it. You mentioned my tenure in the personal development training. And the reality there is that when I was about 26 years old, my life was a train wreck. I was doing the best I could to blow up the relationships that I would have said at the time meant the most to me. My marriage was hanging on by a thread, and I had a very, very good friend of mine, and I am so grateful for people who have had the courage to kind of get in my face over the years. He said, your life is a wreck, and you need to stop and look in the mirror and reevaluate what's going on before you lose the very things that you claim that you love the most. And so I listened to that feedback, and I popped into this training course that he recommended. And long story short is, not only did it give me an opportunity to identify limiting beliefs and behaviors in my life, but it really tuned me in to what now I call conscious living. And I love, Paige, I love your energy and the way you talk about energy. You and I have talked about this many times over the years, that our energy is, most people out there, they hear you talk about energy and they say, oh, there they go off on that new na garbage. What do they mean by that? And I'm telling you, from my experience, human beings are energy beings, that we literally emit energy. The question is, what energy are we emitting? What are the signals that I'm sending? Am I conscious and living each moment as a conscious moment? Or am I just on automatic pilot, not paying attention? Because the reality is, in every moment of life, I'm either drawing people into my life or I'm pushing people out of my life. And the thing is, the one thing we all have in common is we've chosen this phenomenal activity. I see it as an activity. Most people see it as a job. I see it as an activity called sales. There's another word for it too: enrollment. There's another word for it too: persuasion. I see this as an activity, and not just an activity, but the life activity. In every single moment of our lives, we are either enrolling people into our space, into our consciousness, into our vision, or we're pushing them out. And the reality is, at least as I've experienced in my life, is success is an impossibility if I choose to go it alone. So I love that. I love the conversation of energy. Probably, we don't have much time, so I'm going to kind of zero this into a real core philosophy that has changed my life. There are two. One is the realization that sales is the life activity. Not just talking about it, but literally embracing it, literally leaning into the fact that what I'm thinking, the conversation that I'm having within myself is empowering those around me and including, impacting who I am. So if I'm conscious of the conversation that's going on in my being as much as possible, then maybe I stop the negative talk and I focus on the positive talk. The second thing is, when you said send me the bio, and I was listing out these things that I've been blessed with, these experiences. There's a reason why I don't talk about it a lot, and that is because I truly believe that we as human beings need to find our own mantra. We've got to find, I don't know, whatever the words are to you that you can memorize, that are meaningful to you, that really impact the core of who you are. You've got to identify that, and you've got to say it and believe it. My core mantra is going to sound kind of corny. I didn't put it on cards. I didn't put it on posters. Back when I was in the business world, I actually had it just written on my whiteboard up in the corner in my office. So it was always there. It was always present. But my personal mantra has been, my job is your success. Your success. I have one job, not just in business, but in my life. And that is to do everything that I can to inspire and empower success in the people that are around me. I live this, I believe this, simply because if the people who work with me, who are my associates, or if it's my family, if it's my children, if it's my spouse, if they are experiencing success in their life, then I never have to look over my shoulder and question, am I successful? So you see, for me to look over my shoulder and create a list for Paige, it was a little difficult because it's not something I do. My focus and mantra is about the people around me. What can I do to inspire? What can I do to empower, especially the core people in my life, be successful? And then I never have to question, am I successful? That's kind of my core philosophy. And so, Paige, any questions?
Yeah, I love that because I mean, as real estate agents, one thing that people talk about at like real estate coaches and things is commission breath. Like if you're worried about your money and like what you want and just getting for you, people can sense it. Like it's an energy and people can sense it. So if we switch that energy to like, what can I do for you? How can I help you be successful? What is actually best for you in this sale or in this purchase? I think people can sense it, and it just turns into way more business. They like you, they trust you. And I just think that it's just always the mentality you have to have if you're going to have real success. Otherwise, you may have some one-off deals, but it's never going to turn into long-term success if that's not how you're thinking. And now being at Real, for those of us who are attracting agents, like you actually have to be invested in helping and making sure the people that come over are successful instead of just yourself. Like you actually have to turn out and be concerned about other people because it's just an energy you're putting out that's coming back to you. I want to know, so did you how did you come up with this philosophy, and did that start like when you started Progression? And were you focused on the people, like your employees and so basically it was Progression was a sales marketing center for helping people with credit repair. So he had people who were selling the service, and it's a service, just like, real estate is a service, everything that we're doing. Were you focused on helping your salespeople, like your employees? And I guess
That's a great question. So when my partners and I went through the transaction back in 2012, what started literally in my basement in a little office with one employee. It was a different name at that point. It over time it became what's called Progression Marketing. But I remember after we sold the company, being invited back as a founder to hear the new directors, the new leadership talk about the organization. And I remember being in this room. At the time, we employed probably 5,000 people. And we were actively servicing about 1 million clients a year. And selling a company is a fascinating experience, because on Friday you sign documents, and on Monday you wake up and it's like the weight of the world is off your shoulders, and it's like selling a car, only it was my vision. I remember sitting in that meeting and listening to these guys talk about how the founders were so driven by the opportunity to make money. Credit repair is needed, and they really wanted to make money, so they created this money-making machine. I mean, that was the story that they were giving. And I almost, well, actually I did. I got up and I stepped out, because that is exactly not what happened. I fell into credit repair because a good friend of mine, someone in my network, somebody that I was a fishing buddy with, he had a vision of assisting consumers in dealing with a system that they didn't understand, and that really very few people understood. My motivation for getting involved in this industry is I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a solution. Credit scores are an interesting thing. If you've got a high credit score, how do you feel about yourself? You're walking around feeling pretty good. If you're somebody running around with a low credit score, how you feeling about yourself? The credit score is really interesting. It also has a direct impact on our ability to do certain things in our lives. And so my motivation was completely and wholly as kind of a warrior against the credit bureaus, to inspire and empower consumers, not only with knowledge to understand how it works, but with tools and an apparatus to get it done. So when you ask, when did my job as your success unfold? It unfolded over time. It started with conscious living, going back to my training days. It started with recognizing that throughout any day of my life, I'm making hundreds of decisions, and I'm not paying attention to hardly any of them. And reaching that point where I feel like I've got one foot nailed to the floor and the other foot is running, but because one foot's nailed to the floor, I'm just going in circles and getting nowhere. And asking myself, why do I feel stuck? Why do I feel so damn frustrated? And realizing that, well, have I been paying attention to the decisions and choices I'm making? That's kind of where it started, was just getting into the consciousness of paying attention and making highest likelihood to succeed decisions in each moment of my life. And from that, it progressed into recognizing that, wow, I have persuasion, I have influence, the words that are coming out of my mouth really do impact the people in my life. Am I speaking consciously? Am I paying attention to what I'm saying? Am I practicing, setting a goal and then putting it to the test and allowing my words to inspire and empower and see if I can uh, assist in producing results in the people around me. And my energy is all moving outside of me. And that's when it sort of hit me, wow, one of the secrets to success is to focus on the success of those around me. And so, yes, your mantra, start, right? But over time, allow your life circumstances to teach you. And mine honed into those words. My job is your success. When I would sit down and we would do our meetings with the executives, I wasn't yelling, my job is your success. I hardly ever said it to anybody. I just lived it. But every now and again, someone in my office would be in a meeting, they'd look up at the board and they'd say, what does that mean? I'd say, what? And they go, well, my job is your success. And I'd ask them, well, what do you think it means? But literally, if I can empower my executives to be successful and then empower them to focus on the success of the people that they're working with. And the goal was to get right down to the agent, where the agent's on the phone. They're not focusing on closing a sale. They're focusing on creating success for the client. Because, and this is one thing I love about your industry. This is one thing I love about what you do. Your potential clients, your potential partners, they're everybody. They're everybody in your life, everybody in your space. If you're truly paying attention and living in a conscious space, your next opportunity might be sitting next to you on the bus if you live in a city where you take public transportation, or at lunch, or even at home. You just never know. And so it is truly honing into a mantra that lives for you, a mantra that really excites you. And for me, my mantra was all about focusing on the success of the people around me.
One thing I want to say, I love that. And that I want to be clear on here too. So I love that you have to focus on your mindset, getting your mind right, getting confidence in yourself, getting clear on what you really think and what your intention is, what your true energy and intention is. But then also, I want to tell a story that you told, I think last week when I was at your house with Trevor, about how you started this company and you knew nothing about the internet or technology. And you just got scrappy. Like you were like, hey, now I have this awesome service. How do I get it out there to everybody? And you found these couple websites that had people that had books on how to repair your credit. And you were like, hey, you reached out to them. You reached out to like hundreds of people. You're like, hey, can I get a little pop-up? Is there any way I could get a pop-up or something on your site so that like when somebody signs up to get your book, I can capture those leads? And you had no idea what you're doing. Then you're like, they said, you got a couple people to say yes. And then you're like, hey, they told you to send you something. I can't remember what it was called, but then you had to like ask around. You called around a bunch of people. Does anybody know anything about tech? And tried to figure out like how you would even capture these leads or get something like that. Like I know nothing about tech. It's hard to figure stuff out like that for me and most of us. And I think if you're not in the right mindset of like thinking positively, the right energy, I'm here to help people, I can do it, like the right self-talk, it can just feel overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to do anything original. You're just doing the same shit as everybody else. But if you're in the right mindset, not only are you like, is it an energy thing? Like, oh, I'm just doing, nice self-talk and like, I'm just, bringing things to me energetically. You are a hustler. Like you were gone all the time. You were scrappy, like getting in, figuring out different things, reaching out to people every single day, willing to do what it takes. And I think it's a lot easier to do that when you're in the right mindset. And I think really, truly having the right energy and the right mindset makes it a lot easier to be scrappy and figure things out because you actually believe in yourself. And you're like, there is a way I can do this. Now, just how do I figure it out? It's just a how. Like, we have literally everything at our fingertips. Google, you can Google anything and figure it out. With social media, you have reach to like the most successful people in the world, like just through social media, putting something out and just asking for it. You can literally figure out anything you want. If you're just scrappy, you ask for it, you ask the right people, you freaking Google it, you ask ChatGPT. And it's a lot easier to like be creative and open to that mindset of like, hey, how do I do this, when you have the right energy and the right mindset? And I think that helps open things up to you. And it helps you to like get that energy to go be scrappy and make it happen. So it's not just about the energy, like saying, you know, affirmations to yourself or whatever. Like, you have to be a scrappy and a hustler and figure it out and do the work. But they go hand in hand, basically.
Yeah, yeah. When I, that was in, I want to say 1998, and the internet, when I decided to build an internet marketing company, I had never even been on the internet. I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I just knew that there was opportunity. And I don't know, that's interesting that you picked up on that, because as I think back on that conversation, it didn't never matter to me if I was the smartest person in the room. It didn't matter to me that I had to drive all the best ideas. Matter of fact, not being the smartest person in the room is what empowered me to surround myself with incredibly intelligent people. I was never afraid to say, I don't know. Now, sometimes I'd have to trick my brain and say things like, well, Deon, you don't know what the hell you're doing, but if you did know, what might it look like?
I
And
love
start
that.
just making a creative list to keep myself from being stuck. But also reaching out. This is where network is so important. People take their networks for granted. Back in those early days, when I was talking about that story, reflecting back on that, all of the people who assisted me in solving the problem that I didn't understand or that I didn't know how to solve were all people in my network. They were all people that I had met, people that I, had just built a little relationship with. I would say, don't take your networks for granted. I mean, do you have you actually developed a way to track your network? When you meet people, get curious, ask them questions, and then find a way to store that information so that down the road, when you feel stuck, reach out to somebody that may have the solution that you're not seeing. Progression never would have started had I attempted to do it on my own. I have a firm belief in life. We rise to the level of our own incompetence, right? We only know what we know. Now, if I think I have all the answers, then in reality, I do, right? That means I'm never going to get an answer from anyone else. And there are people who live their lives in that reality. But on the other hand, if I know I don't have the answers, if I'm cultivating a network, and not just for opportunity, but to really care, it's amazing how many people are willing to offer input, advice, say that one thing, or offer that one insight that completely transforms your perspective because you were paying attention.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you still have that philosophy now. Like, when you were building this business, when you had nothing, like, you learned this originally when you were doing this, you were going the personal development route, then you applied it to this business that you built and sold, and now you're set for life basically. And you still have taken the same philosophy into now the people around you and helping the people around you. Thank you so much for coming on. I wanted to open up really quick. I know we're kind of at time, but if anybody has
Sure.
any questions, if you're cool for a minute to hang
Sure.
around. If anybody has any questions about mindset, how to get in the right energy, how to draw the right energy to you about sales, about, just any questions for Deon, my awesome father-in-law, for the next few minutes while we're here, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Okay, here. I have a quick question. Thank you so much for sharing this. My name is Laja. Hi,
Hi,
Paige.
Slaja. How are
Finally, we get
you?
to see each other. Pretty good. Pretty
Wait,
good.
tell
Look,
everybody where you serve really quick. Real super quick.
okay, so just joined. I'm based in Florida. Miami Beach is really where I kind of operate and operated for 17 years, and now I'm in Newport for past couple of years. But really, my core business is Miami Beach. So I go there. I do a lot. Florida is where my heart is at, but I had to follow my children because they wanted to go to schools in California. So what am I gonna do? Then sign up. So yeah, just joined. I mean, I'm so happy I jumped on this call because this is really close to my heart in terms of conversations, and because everything's a mindset. Whatever we think, it's the life we live. I actually lived in Serbia first 22 years of my life, so I moved here during the war, and the life I created, it's all my thoughts, it's all what I thought it was possible for me, but it's still a struggle because, see, when we talk about hustling to me is created, or actually kind of, I hustle from a place of scarcity. But my job is your success comes from a place of abundance. So those two are just, this is what I'm going through in the past few years, yes, my job is your success. I want to be a difference in your life, and I need to be abundant, and I need to be, and I am. But then hustle, like that reduces my hustle, because my hustle is my scarcity. My hustle is like, there's not enough. I need to get to the next closing. I need to get my client. You even use the use opportunity. Whoever's sitting next to you is an opportunity. An opportunity to me is also, so I don't know, just balancing hustle. Where does the hustle sources from? Where do you feed that hustle? And where do you feed that my job is your success? And how do they live together? How do they coexist?
Yeah, so
I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, it cut out for a second. Sorry. There you are. Yeah, you're back. Dang it, you're out. I think it might be the AirPods. I don't know.
You think so?
No, now you're back. You're back. Sorry.
All right. Am I good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great question and great story. So I'm going to share with you something a little embarrassing.
Okay, please.
And that is, a couple of years ago, I found myself in a bit of a depression. Like, I just couldn't get my shit going.
Mm-hmm.
I was frustrated. And my wife, who is a rock star and who also is, she's my greatest support, but she's also a mirror at times where she'll, she's not afraid to get in my face and say, what the hell is up with you?
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't do it right away, but I was just in a funk for a few months.
Yep.
And so she's called me out. She said, what's going on with you? And I said, I don't know, man. I feel stuck. I feel a little lost. I feel like I've lost my purpose. I mean, it was stupid, but I'm
No,
here. I
it's
am
not. I
whining,
don't think
right?
it's stupid.
And I'm here to
No, it's
tell
stupid.
you,
Yeah.
nobody in my life is going to feel sorry for me, because I had to break away from golf and pickleball to do stuff like this. But I said to her, I shared that with her, and she said, "Here's what I want you to do. I want you to focus on serving someone today." And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, I want you to specifically serve someone today. She says, I don't care what it is, but get out and do something for someone. And then put it on a list. And then, so I said, okay. And I went out and I dragged my neighbor's garbage cans in off the street. Silly little thing, right? And I put it on the list. Drag John's garbage cans off the street. Then I thought, well, what can I do? And I just started consciously doing little acts of kindness and putting them on a list. And because I'm a very purpose-driven person, and so now this is great. I've got this list going, and I just can't wait to fill it. And what's crazy is 2 weeks later, I had probably, I don't know how many acts of service on my phone, note after note after note after note of all these things I did, and realized that I forgot that I was in a funk.
Yeah.
It's just taking action. It's just getting outside of myself. And it can be something that silly, but yet it is so meaningful. I love your story because it sounds like you've got a lot of historical tapes. We all have these tapes going on in the back of our mind, and it's impossible to make them go away. But I think it's absolutely possible for us to distract ourselves from those negative conversations.
Yeah.
And just getting a little something going. And next thing you know, the fire's back.
Thank you. I'd say we get your wife on the next call, okay? Because that's some advice, okay?
I also think and I think I feel this too, how you're like, well, I get motivated when I'm like from scarcity, like, oh shit, I have nothing coming up. Like
yeah,
a desperation, like I'm gonna hustle from a place of desperation and make
Yeah.
something happen
yeah.
versus a place of like being in like the flow energy and creative energy and just like bringing things to you. So I mean, I think, would you say, Deon, that like when you're truly in the right energy of like abundance and like attracting to you, that like it actually does bring you energy and like motivation and drive to go out and make things happen in more of a creative way versus like a desperation way. Like you can hustle from both.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Um,
Sorry, we can't hear you. Yeah.
Cut
Sorry.
out again, dang
Yeah.
it.
Dang it. Am I
There
back?
you are. Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Yeah. The beautiful thing about being outward focused is that operating from abundance, I would say, comes more from the heart, comes more from your creativity. Whereas focusing on scarcity, those are conversations that are just coming from your brain. And the thing is that the conversations seem real, but they're not. They're just conversations. So take action. If you're feeling stuck, take action. Reach out. Connect with your network. Do something that gets your energy in motion again. And before you know it, stuff starts happening. So
Yeah. Thank you.
I love that. Okay, you guys, we're over, but I think we can take maybe one more question. Deon, if you're cool with it, if anybody has anything else, can maybe take one more question. Unless nobody has anything, then we will wrap this up. And all right, Deon, thank you so much. I knew this was going to be awesome. I really appreciate you coming on here and doing it.
Thank you.
You guys, if you post this meeting today, which I think people love it. Like I think a lot of people say they reached out to one of you because you posted this meeting and you shared it. I think a lot of people enjoy it. So if you guys do, Deon, can they tag you or not? He doesn't do Instagram, but he is awesome. Go tag him, Deon Steckling. He's probably the only one. Let's get him to do more of this stuff because he has a lot to offer. He's done a lot of amazing things in his life, and he's just, yeah, he has a lot to offer. So would love to get him to start doing more of this kind of thing. But
Yeah.
well, thank you,
anyways,
Paige. I appreciate it. Thank
yeah,
you, guys. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
thanks for
you so
coming
much.
on.
Thank you, Deon.
Okay, have a great day.
You
Okay.
too. Bye.
See ya. All right, guys. I love you all, and good seeing everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.